Lightning cracked, rain lashed against the windows. It was the perfect night for a ghost story. Every town has its secrets. Every town has its whispers of strange occurrences. Our town was no different, but ours was about a bus. Not just any bus, mind you. This one was different. This was Route 13. Route 13 wasn't on any map, not officially anyway. It appeared only on nights like this, stormy nights, when shadows danced and fear took hold. The bus itself was ancient, a rickety behemoth with glowing, malevolent headlights that seemed to pierce your very soul. People whispered about those who dared board the bus. They were never seen again. Old Mrs. Henderson swore she saw her neighbor, Mr. Fitzwilliam, board the bus one stormy Tuesday night. He'd gone to get a loaf of bread and never returned. Then there was Emily Carter, the high school cheerleader who vanished after a football game. Some said she'd run off with a boy. Others whispered she'd taken a one-way ride on Route 13. The stories spread like wildfire, each more chilling than the last. Fear hung heavy in the air, as tangible as the dampness that clung to everything. But fear, as they say, is a powerful motivator.
My name is Billy, but everyone calls me Detective Billy. I solve mysteries. Missing cookies, lost dog, I was your guy. But Route 13, that was different. That was dangerous. My best friend Tommy thought I was crazy. Don't do it, Billy, he warned. It's too risky. But I couldn't resist a good mystery. And this one was the mother of all mysteries. Besides, someone had to stop it. Someone had to find out where Route 13 went and what happened to the people on board, even if it meant coming face to face with my biggest fear. For weeks, I prepared. I knew this wasn't going to be an ordinary investigation. Every detail had to be perfect, every possibility accounted for. I couldn't afford to miss a single clue. I studied the weather reports, predicting the next big storm. The patterns were erratic, but I was determined to find a connection. I spent countless hours poring over charts and data, trying to pinpoint the exact moment when the storm would hit. I researched old town records, looking for any mention of Route 13. Nothing. The frustration was mounting, but I couldn't give up. I dug deeper, searching through dusty archives and forgotten documents. Finally, the night arrived. Rain hammered against my bedroom window. It was showtime. The storm was here just as I had predicted. The wind howled and lightning split the sky. It was the perfect cover for my mission. I snuck out of the house, armed with my trusty flashlight and a backpack full of supplies, a compass, a map of the town, and a thermos of hot chocolate. It was going to be a long night, and my lucky detective notebook. Every item had its place, and I double-checked everything before stepping into the night. The map of the town was my guide. I had memorized every street, every alley, every hidden corner. I knew exactly where I needed to go. The thermos of hot chocolate was a small comfort against the cold, biting wind, and my notebook, filled with scribbles and theories, was my most valuable tool. It held all my observations, all my plans. The bus stop at the edge of town was deserted. It was eerie, almost as if the place had been forgotten by time. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional rumble of thunder. Lightning flashed, illuminating the rusty sign that read Route 13, out of service. The sign was old and weathered, but it held a secret. I could feel it. Except it wasn't out of service, was it? I had a hunch that something was amiss, and I was about to find out. The air was thick with anticipation as I waited for the unexpected to unfold. The ground trembled. Through the pouring rain, I saw two headlights in the distance growing closer. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it. The bus screeched to a halt in front of me. The doors hissed open, revealing a dark and eerie interior. A shiver ran down my spine. I hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and climbed aboard. The bus was empty. Well, almost empty. In the driver's seat sat a skeletal figure, its bony fingers gripping the steering wheel. It turned its skull-like head towards me, two empty sockets staring into my soul.
Welcome aboard Route 13. Where are you headed tonight?
I stammered, my carefully prepared plan flying out the window. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my head, but now, faced with the reality, my mind went blank. The bus driver's hollow gaze seemed to pierce through my very soul, making it impossible to think straight. I don't know, just, around. My voice wavered, betraying my uncertainty. I could feel the eyes of the other passengers on me, their silent judgment adding to my growing anxiety.
Very well. Take a seat. Enjoy the ride. The driver's voice was cold and emotionless, sending a shiver down my spine. It was as if he knew something I didn't, a secret that would soon be revealed.
I stumbled down the aisle, my hand gripping the icy handrail. The cold metal felt like it was draining the warmth from my body, leaving me feeling even more vulnerable. The bus interior was dimly lit, casting eerie shadows that danced with every bump in the road. Each seat was worn and dusty, as if it hadn't been used in decades. Cobwebs clung to the corners, and a thick layer of dust covered the cushions. It was clear that this bus had seen better days, and I couldn't help but wonder how long it had been since it last carried passengers. Yet I could sense they had. The air was thick with an unspoken history, a feeling that I was not alone. Ghostly figures seemed to flicker in and out of existence, their presence a haunting reminder of the past. I could almost feel the presence of the people who had sat there before me, their fear lingering in the air. It was as if their emotions had seeped into the very fabric of the bus, creating an atmosphere of unease that was impossible to ignore. The bus lurched forward, picking up speed. The sudden movement jolted me from my thoughts, and I clutched the handrail tighter. The road ahead was dark and winding, and I had no idea where we were headed. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the outside world into an indistinguishable mess. The sound of the rain was almost deafening, drowning out any other noise. Where were we going? The question echoed in my mind, growing louder with each passing second. More importantly, would I ever see my family and Tommy again? The thought of never seeing them again was unbearable. I had to find a way to get off this bus, to escape this nightmare. But how? The uncertainty of my situation weighed heavily on me, and I knew I had to stay strong if I wanted to survive. The bus screeched to a halt, its tires skidding on the worn-out asphalt. The sound echoed through the empty streets, sending shivers down my spine. It was as if the bus had a mind of its own, knowing exactly where to stop. I looked out the window, my breath fogging up the glass. The scene outside was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The buildings were old, their facades crumbling and covered in graffiti. It was a ghost town, forgotten by time. We were in a part of town I'd never seen before, an old, forgotten part, where the air felt thick with history and secrets. The buildings stood like silent sentinels, guarding the stories of the past, with crumbling buildings and overgrown weeds reaching up like skeletal fingers, grasping at the sky. The place had an eerie beauty, a haunting charm that made it impossible to look away.
"This is your stop," the bus driver said, his voice echoing with an otherworldly resonance. His eyes glowed with an ethereal light, and for a moment I wondered if he was even real.
I stepped off the bus, my legs shaky, my heart pounding in my chest. The ground felt solid beneath my feet, but the world around me seemed to waver, as if caught between reality and a dream. As I turned back, the bus was gone, vanished into thin air. It was as if it had never been there at all, leaving me alone in this strange, forgotten place. Vanished. I was alone? Or so I thought. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own breathing. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I knew I wasn't truly alone. Suddenly figures began to emerge from the shadows. Men, women, children. Their forms were faint, like wisps of smoke, but their presence was undeniable. They moved with a grace that was both beautiful and terrifying. They were transparent, shimmering like heat waves on a summer day. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and their faces were etched with expressions of longing and sorrow. And they were all reaching out to me, their hands outstretched as if seeking something only I could provide. Their touch was cold, sending a jolt of electricity through my body. Their eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and relief. It was as if they had been waiting for this moment, for someone to finally see them, to acknowledge their existence.
"Thank you," one of them whispered, their voice barely audible but filled with gratitude. It was a simple phrase, but it carried the weight of countless lifetimes.
It was Emily Carter, the missing cheerleader. Her face was just as I remembered from the posters, but now it was tinged with a ghostly pallor. She looked at me with eyes that seemed to see right through me.
"You found us," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of hope and despair. It was a statement, not a question, and it sent a shiver down my spine.
That's when I understood. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place, and the truth hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just a bus route, it was something much more sinister. Route 13 wasn't a bus, it was a vessel. It collected lost souls, people who had vanished without a trace, and brought them to this place, a sort of purgatory. It was a place where the lost could find solace, but only if someone could see them. People who had vanished without a trace, their stories forgotten by the world, but here they were remembered, their lives given meaning once more, and brought them to this place, a sort of purgatory. It was a place where time stood still, where the past and present collided in a surreal dance. And I, Detective Billy, had just stumbled upon the biggest mystery of my life, a mystery that would change everything I thought I knew about the world and about myself.